Kayleigh, do you acknowledge that it is illegal in this country to vote twice in the same election?
Are you referring to the president's comments earlier today?
I'm just asking you a basic yes or no question. Do you believe it is illegal to vote twice in this country?
The president does not condone unlawful voting. The president's been very clear about this. I'm once again not surprised the media is taking the president out of context. Do you recall what the president said on this matter specifically?
I have it right here. Sure.
Okay, maybe you should read it out for me then.
Okay, so the president said that you should go to your poll, you should vote early by mail, and you should go either early voting or day of and try to vote again. So he is asking people to vote by mail and then to go down to the polling place on election day and to vote again if their vote has, if they can't confirm their vote has been counted.
You're missing a very crucial line from the president's remarks. If it is not tabulated, meaning your mail-in vote, then you will be able to vote in person. If it is not tabulated.
Kayleigh, there are at least 5 states in this country that do not count any mail-in votes until election day. So those votes won't be counted until afterwards. So there's no way to know whether or not their vote is.
There's a very simple answer, and this is how it works. First, a lot of states have what are called electronic poll books. And what this means is that in real time, this is updated. So if your vote is counted, they check the electronic poll book, and you will not be able to vote in person because your vote has been counted. There's a secondary situation. So those who do not have electronic poll books, every single state in the country, you can cast a provisional ballot. And that is a ballot that is there. And if your vote that you have not mailed in is not counted, they will then count the provisional ballot. And that is exactly what the president's referring to. But what Democrats are doing is saying this: we want an entire new system for voting, one subject to fraud. Don't take it from me, take it from Jimmy Carter, who said in 2005, as part of a bipartisan commission, absentee ballots remain the largest source of potential voter fraud. So what Democrats want you to do is say, trust us, but don't verify. Don't verify that your vote's been counted. This president's trying to enfranchise Americans, which is exactly what he's been saying. He wants every American to have a vote because he understands what Jimmy Carter understood and what so many of us understood until the president started putting the focus on mail-in voting, and that was this: that it is subject to fraud. Every vote should count, and every American should verify that their vote is counted by going to their polling location.
What do you say to the executive director of the North Carolina Board of Electors who says that this would create a big problem on election day?
What I would say is that the president has laid it out very clearly. You should verify your vote, and not only that, I would point them to the fact that in 2016, before we tried this entire new system of mass mail-out voting, 319,000 votes were not counted that were cast by mail. 319,000 in an election that came down really to 80,000 votes in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. That's untenable, and hundreds of thousands more will not be counted with the Democrats' fraudulent mass mail-out voting system. The president wants enfranchisement, plain and simple.
It should speak volumes that when asked the very simple question, do you acknowledge that it is illegal to vote twice in the same election? Kayleigh McEnany filibusters and refuses to actually answer the question. It just goes to show that Trump could tweet out his support for burning down buildings, and Kayleigh McEnany would pretend that, in fact, the law on the subject could be very complicated. This question came in the aftermath of Trump having suggested that his supporters vote twice, once via mail-in ballot and then again at the polls if there's no record of the vote having been counted. Of course, given the fact that many states don't begin counting until Election Day, or even as late as after the polls close on Election Day, tens of millions of Americans would be led to erroneously assume that their mail-in ballot was lost, when in fact it wasn't, meaning that they would be voting twice, which, despite this administration's obfuscation efforts, is unquestionably illegal. And it wasn't just Kayleigh McEnany muddying the waters here. Bill Barr was also asked on national television point blank whether voting twice was illegal.
It sounds like he's encouraging people to break the law and try to vote twice.
Well, I don't know exactly what he was saying, but it seems to me what he's saying is he's trying to make the point that the ability to monitor this system is not good. And if it was so good, if you tried to vote a second time, you would be caught if you voted in person.
That would be illegal if they did that. If somebody mailed in a ballot and then actually showed up to vote in person, that would be illegal.
I don't know what the law in the particular state says.
You can't vote twice.
Well, I don't know what the law in the particular state says and when that vote becomes final.
Is there any state that says you can vote twice?
Well, there's some, maybe that you can change your vote up to a particular time. I don't know what the law is, so I'm not going to offer.
He was saying test the system.
If you know what he's saying, why are you asking me what he's saying?
He doesn't believe in the mail-in voting. You're the Attorney General of the United States.
Why does you? Yeah.
We haven't seen widespread fraud. But
So far, we haven't tried it.
well,
and the point
there's
is,
been a lot of us. There are several states that only have mail-in voting, including a Republican
well,
state
this
like
is
Utah.
playing with fire. This is playing with fire. We're a very closely divided country here. And if people have to have confidence in the results of the election and the legitimacy of the government, and people trying to change the rules to this methodology, which, as a matter of logic, is very open to fraud and coercion, is reckless and dangerous. And the people are playing with fire.
Well, I will point out there are 5 states that only have mail-in voting, including Utah and Colorado, Washington State, Oregon, Hawaii, and they've reported over the years they've had virtually no problems.
The Attorney General, the top law enforcement official in the United States, suddenly isn't able to acknowledge that voting twice is illegal, claiming that he hasn't had a chance to look at the specific state. Only, and this might come as a huge surprise, there is no state where that's legal. And you would think that the Attorney General wouldn't be so much of a partisan hack that he can't acknowledge that basic truth. But that isn't the case, because in the Trump administration, the guy could claim that 1 + 1 is 7, and the rest of the cabinet would begin offering math theorems suggesting that maybe addition isn't as simple as we've all been led to believe. Kayleigh goes on to make a bunch of completely unfounded claims, like suggesting that absentee ballots are ripe for fraud, which is interesting considering she voted by mail in every single election she's ever voted in, 11 times in the last 10 years. And she joins Trump, Pence, Barr, Kellyanne, and basically the entirety of the Trump administration who also voted by mail. I guess it's safe enough for them, but not for anyone else. But the most important point I want to touch on is when Kayleigh says that in 2016, 319,000 mail-in votes weren't counted. First of all, that's about 1% of all mail-in votes. So while her intent was saying the raw number was to make it sound like mail-in voting is a broken system, it's not. As for the votes that went uncounted though, the reason they went uncounted is largely because they came in after the deadline or because signatures didn't match, which are issues that Democrats are trying to fix while Republicans are fighting against them. Democrats have been pushing relentlessly to ensure that ballots postmarked by Election Day can still be counted, for the express purpose of ensuring that we don't miss out on hundreds of thousands of votes. Democrats are also trying to ensure that mismatched signatures can be rectified by contacting voters and giving them the opportunity to confirm their votes. It's the GOP who's litigating against those things in the courts and in state legislatures. So Republicans are trying to have it both ways. They're saying, look at this thing that's broken, and also, no, we won't allow you to fix the thing that's broken. Why? Because they want to be able to say that it's fraud, and actually fixing the problem would deprive them of that talking point. For Republicans, it's not about making people's lives easier, it's not about taking steps to ensure that we have a healthy democracy, it's about doing whatever they can to help Trump get reelected, regardless of what they destroy in the process. While you're here, please subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I take a deeper dive into the week's biggest stories and interview major players in the world of politics, like Kamala Harris, Adam Schiff, Katie Porter, Nancy Pelosi, Cory Booker, Eric Swalwell, and many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.